right, guys, we're going to do our chemistry review today. All we're going to talk about today is atomic structure. So there's going to be probably 3 little videos throughout the week to get you caught up on chemistry. First thing we're going to look at is the subatomic chart. Remember, subatomic particle, all that means is inside the atom. Sub means inside, atomic means atom. So those little particles inside the atom, which there's only 3 of them. Okay, so let's draw our chart. We've done this chart several times. We're going to start with the proton and then the charge. So the charge of a proton is +1. The protons are found in the nucleus and they have a size of 1 AMU, which is an atomic mass unit. Next, we have our electrons. Electrons have a charge of -1. They are found in the orbitals around the nucleus, and they have a size of 0, which we say 0, but it's actually about 1/2000th of an AMU. Then we have our neutrons. Neutrons are neutrals. They have a charge of 0. They are found in the nucleus and are about the same size of the proton at 1 atomic mass unit. Now, I know that you don't have a periodic table in front of you probably, so let's look at an example of an element off the periodic table. Let's look at oxygen. So oxygen has an atomic number of 8, its symbol is O, and it has an atomic mass of 16, and that just comes straight from the periodic table. Here's our atomic number on top. The atomic mass is on bottom. And then when we look at how we gather information from the tiles of the periodic table, that all goes back to 8-man. So A in 8-man is atomic number equals the number of protons equals the number of electrons. Man in 8-man is the mass number minus the atomic number equals the number of neutrons. APEMAN. Now, we use this information to create atomic models. So, inside the nucleus, we'll have our protons and our neutrons, and we get those numbers from using the information from the periodic table. So we have 8 protons in oxygen, we have 8 neutrons in oxygen. We also have 8 electrons. Now, in order to do an atomic model, we need to use the Bohr model, which tells us where those 8 electrons are going to be around the nucleus. So where are they going to be in the orbitals? So you take your period number, is going to give you the number of rings around the nucleus, and the group number from the periodic table is going to give you the number of valence electrons. Remember, valence electrons are the electrons on the outer ring, and they are responsible for that element's reactivity. So oxygen, when you look at the periodic table, oxygen is in period 2. So it has 2 rings. And it's in group 6 or group 16 or even 6A if you look closely at the periodic table. So we have our 2 rings. We have the rule is that we're always going to have 2 electrons on the inner ring because the rule is 2-8-8. So we have 2 on the inside ring, and then we're going to put the rest on the outer ring, which will be 6 because we have 8 total. So we have 2 on the inside, 6 on the outside, so we have 6 valence electrons. 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 total electrons in the oxygen atom. Now, a little bit of a review on atomic theory. I remember these couple of guys. We have Dalton, who was the first to come up with the idea of an element. He just said that elements are only made up of one thing. Then we had Thomson, who came up with the plum pudding model, which we talked about as being more like a chocolate chip. Then we had Rutherford, remember taking the marbles outside in the hallway and shooting them underneath the boxes? And then Bohr. So Thomson was the plum pudding model guy, and he said that electrons floated throughout a positive pudding. Okay, so he was the first guy to identify electrons. Rutherford shot photoparticles through gold foil, and then when these positive alpha particles, when they bounced off, he was able to determine that there is a positive central nucleus. And then Bohr was able to tell us that those electrons that Thomson discovered could actually be found on specific paths, okay, so set paths around the nucleus. And we used all this information to help formulate our current idea of the electron cloud model. And we also can't forget about Democritus. I guess he could be considered the first guy. He just came up with the idea of an atom using the word atomos. He was an ancient Greek philosopher. Okay guys, that was just a quick review of atomic structure, and we will be looking at the periodic table tomorrow.